We don't hear you. You're muted.
You don't understand, Vasilina. My talks are much better when they're not heard.
No, that's not true.
I do. I care for you all so much. You know, I had no understanding of what spirituality was when I started it, because back then all that I had was the words of my teachers and trying to make some sense of what those words mean. But I looked for something different. I was looking for something that would transform me inwards to a different level. But instead, my journey was relatively infinitely long, filled with a lot of travel to different gurus, staying at ashrams and Zen centers, and reading the books that these teachers wrote. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. They seemed to be talking about a Shangri-La, so to speak, of the mind. And once you found entrance to that room, you would be utterly transformed. But I have to say, in my own case, it took a fucking lot of time. I had no idea what I was searching for. I didn't know what the Sanskrit terms meant, even when translated into English. I had no idea what enlightenment meant, except that it was a good thing. And it was something I hadn't mastered yet. Back then, when I first started in the 60s, I would just sit enormous numbers of hours on a set schedule every day. And I attained good meditation. But I was eager for something more. The first place I went to was Philip Keplow's Zen Center in upstate New York. The center was delightful. I loved it. But I felt left out because I was a a newbie. There were many unexplained things going on at satsang. The strange thing was that 40 years later, I got quite close to Philip Keplo because Robert had the same disease as Keplo. And Keplo and I used to talk then about all kinds of things, an hour at a time. Over the American phone lines. We didn't have the ease of computer communication then. But I was always waiting for a lightning bolt that would change my views about everything, set me free, and float me about 3 feet off the ground where people could worship me. I still demand that 3 feet of worship. I'm just joking, Jay. And I felt a kind of despair over the years. Because I found nothing in the Zen that I practiced or the Zen people that I was around. Not only Zen, but almost every other tradition, mainly Muktananda. And over the years, I relaxed more or less. I thought that the infinite was going to evade me. And I just practiced being a person in any situation I was in. But I always watched myself. If I closed my eyes, I left the world of earth and entered the inner world of Ed Muzika, which I assumed was the same as the inner world of everybody else. But you see, there are levels of understanding and penetrating the mysteries of life and death. And you really do need a teacher to help you in all these different avenues for change and learning. The single most powerful lesson I learned was to constantly drop into myself. And it feels like closing my eyes, leaving them half open so I didn't fall asleep. and dropping down into my body, from the mind to the face, to the neck, to the chest, to the gut, and then it sort of disappeared. Because my attention was on the upper half of my body, not the lower half. But I guess what I mean to say is that the mystery teachings really are a mystery. They're not open to the average person, because the average person has long ago capitulated to society, the vicissitudes of the weather, and so forth. That's a world of thought and ideas that are constructed on top of our perception of what's going on around us. And because those are ideas, they're much more stable than the immediacy of the present, which is constantly changing. But if you go inside, you find that emptiness inside. And you can rest in that emptiness. You just watch the flow of phenomenon. Sometimes you go very deeply into yourself and you lose touch with your body and your mind altogether. You sit there thoughtlessly, unaware of the world around you or of your own self. Other times, feeling the ghost in the machine, as some refer to, inside of yourself, the life force, the life, this ability to see and to hear, and to touch and to taste. Becomes transformed into bliss. But the bliss is different than what I would use the term. Yeah, I thought of it 30 years ago. To me, my bliss is a profound sense of rest. My mind isn't constantly occupied with ideas that need to be explored or goals yet to be won from the world. It's on my own sense of presence and how that sense of presence functions in the world. I no longer see myself as a human, because the human, to me, seems to be that labeled entity that functions well in society, or not, and leaves society and becomes a wandering monk like I did. But the peace has grown over the years. And the peace is so deep that it transforms into something else. which I don't know how to talk about. There are no words for what I have become. What goes on in the body when your mind is turned off and you see mostly darkness and sometimes images going on of purple and gold and other colors, which I guess reflect the different kinds of energies going on within our body and mind. I just sit wrapped in them, no longer trying to figure out what happens next or what to do with all of these things inside of me. Many years ago, maybe about 10, I was talking to Dia, one of my older students. And she said to me and to the class that she's not a human anymore. Well, that throws all kinds of avenues for exploration to flow in my mind and other people's minds. What does she mean she's not human? And the best thing I can figure out is what has most immediacy with her in her daily life in her spiritual life was the immediacy of my own self and her own self to her. And diving down into that self. And spreading yourself all over it. You no longer equate with the external phenomenology of everyday life. But with the experience of various states of emptiness. That embraces the everyday world, but not is of it. It is not of it. You're no longer in the ordinary world of human beings, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic or any other way. But I talk about it being an entire existence different than it was before. For example, now, I really enjoy not moving and being silent because so much happens there. Didn't happen before. my 40 years of wandering and maturing. My greatest time during that 40 or 50 years was being with Robert Adams from 1988 to 1995, before he went to Sedona. And I met him a few times up there in Sedona till 1997 when he died. Robert himself had a rather severe case of Parkinson's from the moment I met him. I was taking medications to allow his body to function better in the world. His wife, Nicole, told me that on the day of satsang, he spent the whole day beforehand, and we're talking about Thursday evenings, thinking about what to say at satsang. And if you read the Robert's transcripts, they kind of make you happy. They suggest a world beyond the world we live in, and there is. But it's not a world you can occupy, like a dream world or even the human world we usually associate with. Because the experiences you have during the maturation process of your spirituality, you can talk about Kundalini. You could talk about other energies. It's somehow you've transcended the whole thing. Being immersed in my own body, in the consciousness of that body, perceiving the world, and I can clearly perceive myself as the aliveness that I feel within my body. And just resting is that aliveness causes some sort of transformation inside of me. And that's what it did. So that I got quieter and quieter. I didn't even pay much attention to what happened in satsang. To me, those were just words. And instead, the nonverbal parts of satsang began to mean so much to me. The parts about being submerged into your own life force. And realizing that you're not even the life force. You observe the life force. And there's a distance between you and what is experienced by your body and in your body. Consciousness arises within you. You can watch it arise in the morning, and you can watch it disappear at night. You can actually see it coming. And it's not a seeing that involves consciousness or pictures. It's a different kind of thing. It's a seeing of the consciousness energy coming towards you, towards me. And then when it's in me, I am no longer nothingness, but I'm somethingness. Over the years, my sense of peace has deepened and grown. Beginning about 4 or 5 years ago, it began to feel so powerful that I became very attached to the energetic experiences. But it didn't make any difference. The die was cast. I was going deeper and deeper into new worlds within me. And that's the only way to put it. It sounds really mystical, but the problem is we don't have any words to discuss the kind of experiences that yogis and Zen people have as they mature in consciousness. I don't know why I have this coughing spell right now. What comes, though, is a great sense of power in nothingness. Every bit of what happens to us happens in the ordinary human world. In the world, or the world, that's not even touched by phenomena. Our own sense of presence becomes fully matured and powerful. And in our meditations, when we get into that place, the feeling is of utter stillness, suffused with a great sense of delight and happiness. Then I feel immovable. And I can sit there for an hour before that world disappears. The stuff I'm telling you now is my particular slant on the spiritual traveler's experiences. You won't find it in Muktananda, except where he talks about his meditation experiences. You won't find with Krishnamurti. You will, to a certain extent, find it in Robert. But the thing is, none of these teachers can actually express what I feel now and every day as I experience my own self and I experience the world. It seems that I and the world are no longer two, but one. And I'm surrounded by these vast energies. I can sort of swim in them or hold silent to just watch and feel. It's really important to feel in spiritual practice, not just think. Because humans tend to be thinkers. They pride themselves in what they know and can do. What about having pride in yourselves when you don't do, and you just are? Imagine having that all the time. The perfect sense of peace, of confidence, of love. And feeling like my body is the tip of a great mountain, totally rooted in the earth, unmovable. And I watch that unmovable. And I watch how the internal progressions of the various states that are in me do their thing. Different kinds of emptiness, experiencing the world, experiencing life. And one of those most important experiences I've had is my bonding and communications with my pets, my cats. When I look into their eyes, I find a kind of acceptance and love, which is almost impossible to find in human beings, in the ordinary human world. But there is an extraordinary human world too. That's what I try to speak of without the words to express what I'm experiencing and interpreting. The whole world gets set straight for one time. And it's no longer the world you entered into when you first started spiritual practice. You have become transformed. You sit in the majesty of your own presence, totally silent in that peace, without the slightest intent to accomplish any goal or to achieve any state or anything for your body mind. Life becomes a simple thing, became a simple thing for me, and also for you. It becomes something entirely different than you had in mind when you entered the fray. When you first enter spirituality, including meditation, you have no idea what you're looking for or how to do it. But in the end, you're constantly aware of yourself inside. But what that experience is, I have no words for it. All that I know is that the primary experience is of a peace so deep that I become invulnerable, even though that never was my intent. I can utterly see through all words as being the essence of the fabric which kept us deluded all our lives, our experience and interpretation of the external world. We've left the inner world, our inner world, ourselves alone. Instead, we focused on living a life in a rather straitjacketed sort of way. There's so many ideas, so many different societies, so many different laws. And these are like garments we wear. Well, who we are is who we are, much closer to the heart. And when I practice meditation, I can watch the world of silence come towards me. And when it grips me, I feel so enormously steady and powerful. And at the same time, humble for receiving this experience of myself. You know, the self that these guys talk about is not something that you can find in the ordinary world. You can only find it in the world of transcendence. And when you enter there, you're no longer of this world. Nicole used to say to me all the time that Robert was so out of it that she imagined that someday a flying saucer would land behind their house and the beings would come out to take Robert away to his birth world. Robert was like that. He was not of this world. And I now know what the world was like where he dwelt. It all makes sense now. Everything he said makes sense. And there's no real teachings about here except get in touch with those lowest levels of existence within you. And you do that by constantly sinking deeper and deeper into yourself in meditation and in everyday life when you can. It's worth it. I can die happy now. I could leave my 2 houses to Karima and my cats and be happy. And this is as far as I can take you. When it comes to what it's like to be immersed in your own self. To be in the seat of that to which consciousness comes. You're not consciousness, although that's a good place to start from. You're not human, but you're consciousness. But I say you're something even deeper. I'm saying you're that to which consciousness comes. After that, our world is born, and we enter the world of human beings while not being of that world anymore. I no longer feel of this world. I can't say that I'm not human, but maybe what he meant by that is conventional. I don't know. But the world changes through meditation, and so do you. You grow into deeper and deeper peace and increasing power, and it's so hard to describe what that power feels like. Like utter steadiness and ever being totally immersed in the life force. Well, that's my bullshit lecture for today. Does anybody dare ask a question? Does anybody dare ask a question? Okay, do you want to make a statement? You know, I don't get to meet many of you in face-to-face conversation during the week. There are not too many here that I know on a personal level. Chris and Bernadette. Vasilina, Maxie, Michael. But I'd like to know more of you when we get together. I hope you guys can arrange a day where you just shoot the shit about what your experiences are. But when you relate your own experiences, don't use it as an opportunity to boast. But as an opportunity to see or hear what other people's experiences are. Can you feel that peace within you? Lawrence, can you feel that peace within you? Don't worry about it, Lawrence. If you don't want to come back, don't come back. You're excused. Unless you still want to say something.
I would like to share something. What happened to me 3 days ago, because I don't know if you remember, I had the flu. So my lungs were, I was not breathing very good, which is not, I'm not used of it. Normally my lungs are strong. And I was having breakfast, and suddenly I didn't swallow good, and my breathing stopped. I could not breathe anymore. So I was coughing, but I could not take air. And it was, I'm alone at home now. And I felt a lot in a very few seconds. And I remember doing the inquiry. I remember all at the same time, but my body was struggling. My body wanted to breathe, and I know it was an important experience for my body. I don't know. There was then I could breathe, obviously. But I saw myself dying in that moment, alone. And that's it. And I associate this with all this meditation, this inquiries, going inside. But I don't understand clearly.
Have you ever read Ramana's speaking of his own death experience?
I know this story. Yes, I know.
Does that ring any bells in any way similar to what you experienced?
Sometimes I don't share these things because I believe they are like fantasies. I don't trust. But I read because of you mentioned, I read Michael Langford books, which are available online. And just this week I was reading back the chapter to enhance the longing for freedom. And he was giving the anecdote of someone drowning. It was before that. And he said, imagine the longing of this person to breathe. Then all this I remember after that I had read before. He said, how deep is this need to breathe? After 1 minute, after 2 minutes, after 3 minutes. And I don't know, all these mixed in my mind, all these things.
I will tell you this. You won't understand it now, even if you go through that experience again and again. Because what you're really doing is abandoning the fantasies. All the fantasies that we have of ourselves. So you can't really express any meaning anymore, because there is none in your new world. There's just being. There are no concepts out there. There are a lot of experiences that happen still within beingness, within consciousness. But the understanding isn't there anymore, because you don't need understanding. You need to trust the depth and power of your own being to transform you in itself with these spiritual practices of meditation and surrender. Surrender is as powerful as meditation. And you should try to practice it too, to give it all away. All your experiences, all your problems, all your needs. Just let go of them. And you'll see almost instantly how trivial they become. So, this experience of yours, don't let it rule you. Because there'll be an infinite flow of these kinds of experiences. And they don't teach you anything, except that this world we live in is nowhere near as ecstatic and open and revealing as this heretofore secret world of the self. Years ago, even though I was teaching, I had no understanding of what Zen was about. And the whole effort to find a pigeonhole that explained the whole thing was a useless, sided endeavor. What I should have been doing the whole time is going straight ahead. Hold on to nothing. Don't hold on to your life. Don't hold on to the life of your loved ones. Don't hold on to the majesty of your experiences that you have getting into the self. Hold on to nothing and become ghost-like yourself. And everything is transformed in that world of silence into something really miraculous, but really useless in this everyday world to get you anywhere. Because transcendence doesn't mean you're in any way more effective in this world than you were before. Because now you're the pure observer of yourself in the world. And everything happens inside of you. And that's why you feel so liberated. Because Everything is happening within you. You are the source. Now that runs into speculation about universal mankind and all that kind of stuff, but don't touch that either. That's just mental stuff meant to entertain us. We humans have this mind and it's gone berserk. It wants answers, it wants questions, it wants stories. The thing it loves is stories about the magical and the transcendent, and about God, and about physics, and about gravity, and all that. It wants to know. But when you stop wanting to know, the experiences come more often of something entirely different out of this world. And you just endure those experiences one after another. You don't talk about them too much except with your teacher. And they're utterly transforming you, the material of you. You have that which is behind consciousness in you. That is you. And the experiences keep coming, and they are ecstatic. And you can't express much about it except about how magnificent it is. But every now and then, we can hear a story that puts our hearts at rest, our minds at rest for a while. And then we just sit in silence and in peace and wait for whatever is being offered us to be offered. Here I am in a place I really don't care for. Sunny Arizona, Phoenix. I'd much rather be in Northern California or Oregon, where it's never too hot or cold. But here it gets really hot, 115, 119. I'd much rather be in upper New York again, in the Zen Center. I wish I had enough places, or a real place for satsang, to conduct satsang in the flesh. But what Robert did was he was offered one after another people's houses to host our satsang. He never even expressed a desire to have a house of his own. I remember when Robert left in 1995, I was supposed to go with him to Sedona. But at that time, I was taking care of multiple feral cats in different colonies. And I was trying to find work in Sedona to support me and to bring those feral cats along just in a new household in Sedona. But it never happened. And within 2 weeks after Robert left, I began to have awakening experiences that were not like anything I had anticipated. What I'm trying to do now is, in many ways, take the searching part, the verbal part, out of the teachings and say, just sink into yourself and observe your beingness. And that beingness will change and change and change. But it will be so delightful to you. It won't matter that you're no longer here. You're in a world that is out of the ordinary world. And I could talk about that hour after hour. But that world that I would be talking about is still one that's not where I am anymore. Where I am now is a place of complete happiness. Where I can rest in my presence, and my presence doesn't feel like doing anything except being. The whole thing of mind has to go. This is not for mental people. This is for heart people who get a kick out of nothingness and silence, and what nothingness means, and what silence means, and what bliss is, and what rest is, what truth is. All of these things change. And you have no guide to know what's going to happen or explain what's going on. The thing is, you feel so delightful, there's no need to explain anything anymore. You just are. You are in an existence that you couldn't even dream of 10 years ago, 30 years ago. Any questions? Any complaints? David, do you have a complaint? Give me a complaint.
Hi, Ed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I don't have a complaint.
What country are you in?
Australia,
That's what I thought. Where in Australia?
Adelaide.
Mm-hmm. That's where I
Where
was thinking of going.
you were thinking of going to Adelaide?
Yeah.
Oh,
I had, I should say, my good friend Swami Shankarananda. I think he's in Adelaide, isn't he?
in Melbourne.
Oh, how
The
far is
last time I
Melbourne
heard,
from Adelaide?
about 10 hours drive.
Holy shit.
You may have heard that Australia's big,
Yeah.
but so's the USA. So I'd like to
Welcome
thank
for
you.
here. You're always welcome coming here. You have
Thank
a
you.
nice presence about you. You have a
Oh,
very
thank you.
nice presence.
Thank you. I've been looking at your work for quite a while, and I'd like to say thank you to you for everything that you've done.
So welcome. Keep coming.
I will. Thanks, Ed.
Mark, have you anything to say? Mark always has something to say.
Yeah, I don't have much today, unfortunately, not like last time anyway, but I would like to say that when you speak of the depths of being in the self, and you talk about the deep, deep peace and the calm, to that I would add, at least in my case, a very strong clarity, such that it dispels seeking, it dispels doubt, it dispels everything else.
Good catch. Yes.
And that's so important because much of what brings us here is lack of clarity.
Michael, why do you keep coming back over the years?
It's a freebie. I don't have to meditate or anything. Back and thank you.
That's a good one. Vesselina, why do you come?
Well, to hear your talks and to calm down.
Good. Glad to have you.
Thanks.
How are you feeling now?
Um, I'm okay. Could have been worse.
Well, that's a mighty strong endorsement of spirituality. I'm okay. It could be worse. Eddie, how are you?
That's good. Very, very happy. Thank you.
We have some devotees in this satsang, like Jay. Who else? Chris and Bernadette, both of them have taken off spiritually like a rocket. Mark, who's been right on for a long, long time. You guys can talk to each other. It won't hurt.
Hi, Ed, Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Hey, you said something today that I really related to when you were talking about the straitjacket of the mind.
Yeah,
And the reason I really relate to that today because I really am feeling straitjacketed today by my mind. And the feelings of sadness of I won't get into the details of why this is being triggered, but feelings of impermanence and death are really weighing on me right now.
good.
And I feel what you're saying of this straitjacket. I feel like when these feelings of fear and sadness about death and impermanence came, it was like a straitjacket descending on my heart and my body. It feels heavy.
Exactly. Yeah,
And my mind feels heavy. My heart feels heavy. I feel very tight and constrained in my chest and stomach.
yes.
And as a side, by coming here, I'm learning to, I think, more and more how to feel and express these things better. But back to the story. I feel also that it's a tissue paper straitjacket because I'm afraid to get out of it. I think I'm comfortable in it from my old days of fear. And I just wanted to say that's it comes and goes, but today I I'm afraid.
I'm
And
glad you're afraid.
pardon me.
I'm glad you're afraid. It
And
shows you're dealing with something substantial inside yourself.
yes, I feel that. And again, only because I'm coming here and and I want to put a plug in for the other days of the week. We do meet and listen to chant. Not usually a whole lot of talking, but just mainly silence and chant. But we do talk when someone's feeling, one way or the other, something outstanding or something they need. Basically, it's a place to talk if need be. We meet every day but Friday, Saturday. But back to me, like I said, I'm just feeling that today, that sadness, trying to sink into it.
I can't come to the door. I don't know. There's some people out there.
Well, anyway, I guess that's about all for me, but I just wanted to say that.
Oh, it's the gardener. He wants the key. Excuse me a second.
Right on.
Oh,
Hi. There you go. Okay, thank you.
back to human being life every day. Shit here, shit there. Anyway, I'm glad you came, all of you. Here. I love you. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Robert used to say that too. Bye-bye.